Welcome to this podcast, Married to His Will. I am Suzette Williams, your host and licensed professional counselor in the state of Georgia. If you are listening for the first time, I welcome you especially. If you're in a struggle and feeling stuck, you have come to the right place. This podcast is made just for you so that you will know you can become unstuck. Today, I am married to the will of God as I have discovered that His purpose for my life is always bigger than my status or whatever circumstance I find myself in. I originally thought the continuous struggle of my 19 to 20-year marriage was my purpose, but it was only to be used for God's greater purpose in my life. I realized that my sacrifice to stay in an abusive marriage was not the kind of sacrifice God required, but that the promise of salvation was not only from eternal hell, but for situations beyond my ability to manage. I became free from a place of bondage so that you can be free also. 1 Corinthians 10:13 tells me that there is no temptation or struggle that God cannot deliver me from. He will provide a way of escape out of that struggle you face. He did that for me. It's by His grace that I endured 19 years of the same struggle. He said, I am bringing you out so that you can become who I have called you to become. And now I am delivered and married to His will. Invite your friends on the journey with me as I share biblical insights, share my personal stories, and clinical insights from my own expertise and knowledge. And I plan to have others join me along the way. Enjoy this next episode. Hello, hello, hello. I am so excited about this episode. Listen, I have the wonderful Ernetta Caldwell, and she is a transformation coach and an author, an actor. She is doing a lot, you guys. She is a woman of God, and she coaches women to be their best selves. Let me tell you, this woman would add value to your life. And before I bring her on, I just want to say a big thank you to Tiffany Newsome, who is the reason why I was able to connect with Ernetta. I even have Ernetta's book, and it's called A Journey to a Healed Heart, Healing Through a Painful Divorce. And I can relate to her because I also went through a divorce. And her story, I mean, it's amazing. She has come through a lot, and I can't wait to share her with you in this platform with her so she can tell you more about herself and encourage you. I know that different types of people listen to this podcast, different ears are listening. So however this comes to you, I pray that it blesses you and that everything that is shared will edify the body of Christ and will also bring someone to the fold of Jesus Christ. And so, without further ado, with a hearty welcome and a great applause, welcome Ernetta Caldwell. Woo! I'm so excited to have you here, Ernetta.
Yes.
Is it Ernetta Caldwell? Is that how you say your last name?
Yes.
Okay, I don't want to mess it up. So, I'm really happy to have you here. Really excited to have you on my podcast. You are my very first guest for the year. Yeah.
Oh,
So you have a very special spot here, beginning off the year with us. So I'm really excited to have you. Um, and guys, we are sipping tea. This is going to be a great time. I've never had a guest tell me she's going to have tea, and I love tea. So I decided to join her. And guess what? I have a mug, and the mug says, "You're made for more." And
oh,
it's yeah, it's from my new church, Deeper Church. I always put a plug for Deeper because that's where I serve as a worship pastor now, and I have so I serve under my brother-in-law and my sister, my twin sister, who are the pastors at Deeper Church. So every week I remind everyone about Deeper Church because our vision is to let people know that they're made for more and to dive deeper. So
Yeah.
We're excited. I didn't code it right, and they might get me for that for not knowing the mission and vision really well.
They know your heart.
They know my heart. Every week I'm talking about it, so I'm really excited. And we are already going through the growing pains of it, and I feel like God is swiftly making us grow in this process as we're building His church. So, but I'm going to get off of that because I want to introduce you, Ernetta. I want to give you the opportunity to say a little bit about, first of all, I haven't told them how we met. So if you kind of want to talk about that, somehow we got onto each other through our own networks, right? Through I think it's Tiffany. Um, through her, she has her own social media thing going on. So in that way, we were able to connect, and here we are. I feel
Yeah.
like it was just a divine thing when I learned your story. And so, because I know your story and it touched my life, I actually have your book. Um, I feel like I needed to have you on here because it would be the perfect timing. I'm divorced, as everyone knows, and I know you went through that as well. So, kind of want you to introduce yourself, and we'll dive into your story.
Yes. Well, first I want to say thank you so much, Suzette, for having me on Married to His Will podcast. This is such an amazing honor for me to be here before each and every one of you. So yes, my name is Ernetta Caldwell. I am an author, speaker, transformation coach. I am the CEO founder of Beauty for Ashes Transformations, where I teach women to heal and transition to reinvent their lives and rediscover who they are by implementing self love, healing, and transformation. So for me, my business and my ministry was started due to my own personal experiences of going through many different traumas, such as childhood molestation, foster care, teen pregnancy at the age of 14, and then later on in life, I would experience going through a devastation of a divorce. So, yeah.
I know about that. And your story is very different from mine in that I was already looking for a way out, because but no, none of us gets married to have a divorce. So in that sense, I think it's always devastating. But for me, I was married for 19 years, and it became so tumultuous. I feel like the Lord finally heard me, and it was just time to let go. But for
Mhm.
you, I know the rug was pulled from under you. As I read your book, I learned a lot more about your story. And I got to be honest, I'm still reading it because I'm doing it very slowly. Of course, I have a lot on my plate. But I got really far and had to go back just to refresh my memory because I put it down for a little while. But the book says a journey to a healed heart, healing through a painful divorce. So
Yeah.
I kind of want to know, you to tell the audience, first of all, how you got the courage to write such a book. I mean, did you write this when you were married already or prior to your
Um,
remarriage?
my rematch,
Yeah.
actually, yes, actually, God had me writing during my separation. So my
Oh,
book was birthed from me just basically journaling my
oh
experience.
wow.
Hmm.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Yes.
Ooh. So that journaling, I'm sure, does record your journey. I wanted you to tell them, about what happened in your marriage, what might have led to a divorce.
Yes, so like I said, going through a devastation of a divorce, I was really blindsided. It caught me to a big, huge surprise because, like yourself, we were together going on 17 years, married going on 10, and I never would have seen it coming. We were we were kind of opposite with a few things, and of course, I now look back because sometimes we look back, and I was listening to your previous podcast when you were talking about praying, surrendering to God's will, and sometimes we do things outside of God's will. In this case, he was a great man, but I knew we were unevenly yoked. And I still kind of was like, well, God, he'll change for me. And I had to learn very quickly. But outside of that, like I said, he was a great person. But it was just one day out of the blue, he came home and said, I'm leaving. And that left me devastated. I just cried and cried. And because of all the other traumas and childhood histories of things I went through, I felt abandoned. I felt rejected and questioned God to say, God, why me? What have I done? I've always been the type of person to show love, to want to be there for people. And why are these things happening to me? But now on the other side, I realize that in life, we only go through situations and things because God is going to use all those things for his good.
Oh, yeah.
It's all about the reach back to pull up other women because now I can share through my own personal experience to know how I was able to overcome and get through to the other side. Um, but yeah, it was devastating.
I can imagine. I mean, so he just, I guess you said it kind of was out of the blue, right? Did you know of anybody else? I think in the book when I read it, and I don't want to give it away because I don't know if you're still selling the book. So,
Oh,
uh,
yes.
you are okay.
Uh, You can
You,
go to my website, www.ernettacaldwell.com, get you a copy, or if it's not for you, get a copy for someone, even if you're not ever been married and you're not going through a divorce, but maybe you're going through a heartbreak or someone. It's a good resource and tool because when I wrote it from my heart. And like I said, from my own personal experience to help other women get through.
that's beautiful. So there you have it. You gave the website and everything, and I'll make sure it is listed in the description area for you so you can get that on your own time. But as I remember what some of the things I read, you said the rug was pulled from under you, but were there any signs prior to that that this person was over, was didn't want to be with you, that this rejection was on its way?
No, I didn't see it coming. I mean, it
Yeah,
just, like I said, but looking back, there were like little pieces, how as women we have an intuition.
for
I
sure.
believe the Holy Ghost, he will lead and guide us and give
Yeah.
us insights. But I feel as though there were certain little things, but I didn't see it. I was
Yeah.
just busy being a mom, busy being a wife,
Mhm.
being a nurse, just working and doing the things that I know that I needed to do that when it happened, it was by surprise. Like,
Wow.
whoa, what happened? And as women, of course, sometimes it's like, okay, was my fried chicken not good enough? Am I not pretty enough? Like, what is it? Like, what did, we immediately, and not everyone, but, start to blame yourself. That's what
Yeah.
I did. I felt like I wasn't worthy, I wasn't valued. And like I said, it's a part of my childhood too. So
Yeah.
I had to really overcome. But what really helped me during that time was my little girl. She was 7 at the time when I was going through my separation. And she said, Mommy, let's create a vision board. And I was like, baby girl, and y'all know if you have children or if you have grandchildren or maybe you have nieces and nephews, they can come at the wrong time. I'm like,
Okay.
baby, I don't want to do arts and crafts. But I did it. And now I realized that God was only using my little girl to help give me hope and faith again to believe better days was ahead.
That's so beautiful. He will use a little child. Wow. So
Yes.
in that moment, you might have been resistant or reluctant to even engage in a fun activity, when you're going through this, horrible period of your life. And I
Yeah.
know exactly how that feels. Divorce is devastating. I mean, just the process of undoing so many years. How long were you guys together?
We were together a total of going on 17 years, but we were married going on 10.
Wow.
Mhm.
So that's a lot of investment, a lot of time invested
Yeah.
in not just, a marriage, but the person and building your family together. And I know for me, the children was a big reason to try to keep it together, even
Mhm.
though it really wasn't a good place to be in. But I'm really thankful for that testimony and to know that your children are also purposeful. God gave us children, and even when it's within a marriage, even if it's that marriage is not unto God, He
Hmm.
can bring something beautiful out of it. And for
Yeah.
you, how many children did you all have together?
Well, I had one previously,
Mhm.
but he helped to raise him. He was 2 when we got together, and then we have a daughter together.
Okay,
So, hmm,
beautiful. And I know for children, divorce can look different for each of them.
yes.
Yeah, I didn't think I would even get to that part, but when I think about the children, I have six of my children. I think you know that I have six children. I don't know if you knew that, but they each seem to handle it differently, and they go through a different process. How they kind of go through their mind about it is different. I know that based on their behaviors. And even though they all understood, they still had to adjust to a transition like this. So
Mhm.
how, as a mom, have you been able to navigate the difficulty with the children having to see this happen to you?
Well, I would definitely have to say the key for me was to continue to have a positive mindset.
Yeah,
I feel like even though we're going through something, there's that separation, there's that divorce,
yeah,
always speak good about the other person to your
yes,
kids.
yes.
I never downed or put them down to my daughter or to my son because I feel as though that wouldn't be pleasing to God. And so I definitely, whatever I could do as that parent to uplift that other parent, that's what I did. Um, I would never forget there was Father's Day and it was coming up and I told my little girl and I said, well, let's get him a card and let's do something nice for him. And I remember the card said something like, thank you for tucking me in at night. And she read it and she said, but mommy, he does not tuck me in at like she understood, but I was speaking to, at the time I was standing in faith for my marriage. I would never tell anyone just to walk away from a marriage. I would say definitely continue to pray about it and go to God, and let Him lead and guide you. No one could never tell you what you need to do. And so my belief at the time, I was like, no, he's gonna come back, God's gonna restore, but once again, it's about God's will and not my will.
There you go. So you were obviously still in love with him and wanted him, not just being in love with him, but you really wanted the family to stay together.
Yes.
Yeah, so you
Yeah.
hoped and you prayed. You weren't giving up until God made that clear that you had to let go, I'm sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Um, and it's hard when your mindset is marriage and you know why you went into marriage. And it was difficult for me, as I said, to let go. Not because I wanted to be with the person, but because I
Mhm.
know that God ordained marriage. And so for me, it was like, how could God be telling me to let go of something, to let go of my marriage? That
Mhm.
was really difficult to swallow, but it was a
Yeah.
revelation I had to accept because I wasn't well, and there are other things more important, than trying to keep this institution when it was my choice to have
Yeah.
this person in my life. So God gave me the choice again to do it right. Um, and I'm really happy for your story because now you're living maybe a promise. Did you think you would ever get married again?
Absolutely. I believed, one thing that I did even throughout the time. So you have to get the book to read the story of how it all transpired, of how God gave it to me to really let it go. Because once I let it go and what God revealed to me, I'll just give a little snippet. There
Okay.
is a chapter in the book called The Letter to the Other Woman. Okay.
Okay.
Uh, so yes. But when God gave me the okay, let it go, it was let go and let God.
Yeah.
That's when I had to let go and continue to move forward. And when I did do vision board with my little girl, I cut out a picture of a bride and groom. And my prayer to God was, God, send me a husband that will love me for loving you. And now, because of my little girl and what she had done for me, I am now the creator of what is called the prayer vision box, where it's all about pray it, believe it, and see it.
Wow.
And so teach women to create their vision board, to frame their future, and to release their past. A lot of times we hold on to the memories of our past, we hold on to the things, but we never really focus on where we're going. God says in his word, where there is no vision, the people perish. But this was the actual picture I cut out of the bride and groom with my little girl at the time. And I believed it, and God did it. He sent my now Boaz, my wonderful husband Anthony, and I'm just so grateful for what he has done.
Oh gosh, that makes me so excited. Oh my goodness. I want to get to that story, but I did highlight. I love the fact that you showed us the box, where it's funny because it reminds me of a project I'll give my clients at times. I'll tell them to take any box, even if it's a tissue box or something like that. One person did a big shoe box like that.
Mhm.
Yeah, where they have to write descriptive words of themselves inside and outside. The outside represents the people that how people see them, and of course they would
Mhm.
have to interview friends and family to write the description of them in the front, and that inside of it they would have to write their own feelings about themselves. And somehow we would talk about how they match, how they come together based on what people see versus what you know about yourself.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, more often than not, people see us much better than we think
Yeah.
about ourselves.
So
And so
true.
it's kind of like a self-esteem project, but I love making that into a vision box, or a vision board, so to speak. I just love that. And for you to do that with your children, that's just even more special. That's quite
Yes.
amazing. So thanks for sharing that. But
Thank
there is a piece that I highlighted in the book, and it reminded me of the importance of being obedient. When you talked about, I think you were going through a period where you really wanted to investigate your what was going on with it. I'm sure this was that way in the past now, but I somehow highlighted this part. So I called the babysitter and told her I didn't need her service. I also called Glenda and Crystal to tell them that I canceled my private investigation plans for God's plans.
Mhm. Yes.
I'm like, that is powerful because we have our own agenda about our lives. And we know what Jeremiah 29, verse 11 says, for I know the plans I had, the thoughts I had towards you, plans for you to prosper, right? And
Yeah.
so, this right here, this idea of being obedient and stopping your ruthless desire to find out something that you didn't need to know because God already had your future planned.
Yes. Yes.
But that obedient act was necessary.
Now, let me just put this out there. We're all saved, but sometime when we go through,
Yeah.
when you go through a situation, okay, sometimes you may go back to that unsaved version of you in that moment. And I
Uh-huh.
had that moment. I was like, Lord, you're not moving fast enough. I need
Wow.
answers now. Who has that microwave faith? Like you want to pray today and you want the answer in 5 minutes, and you're like, Lord, it to me. But sometimes God shows us his patience. He has to humble us,
Yeah.
and he has to once again allow us to really surrender to his will in his way.
Ab-
And a lot of times I say this because I could have found out something early on, which really could have been so much more devastating, as far as I could have been 6 feet under or behind bars. I could not even be here in front of each and every one of you or to even be on your podcast. Uh, but, I thank God for that surrender, and I thank God for his way and his will.
Okay. That, again, that brings the title forcefully married to his will. That's what
Yes.
I'm talking about. You want to be in alignment with God's will. And that is so important. Yeah, the flesh is going to rise up. We're going to have our emotions and our desires to have revenge.
Mm, Baby, let me tell you, I was ready. Oh,
Yeah.
I had the plan. I was ready.
If I tell you how many times I'm like, God, this is so unfair. Like, this should be what happened to him and not me having to deal with this and that. Yes, I've
Mhm.
gone through all of those things, bargaining with God.
Yes.
Because my flesh is just like, this is just enough, enough is enough. But
Mhm.
yeah, I'm so happy for your obedience. And you give us some healing thoughts in your books and scriptures to read. I'm really excited about your book. But it's just me not having time. But I love reading it. I took it up right away once I got your book. I was reading, I thought I'd be done in that day. But of course, my life is full, as you know. But
Yeah.
I kind you mentioned, having challenging challenges in your life growing up in foster care.
Yes, I was in foster care for a period of time.
Okay. So did you grow up in North Carolina? Where's your place of upbringing?
My hometown is Springfield, Massachusetts. That's where I was born
Oh,
and raised. Yeah, so I'm a
okay.
northern girl.
Northern girl.
But southern. So ever since I moved down south, I've been here for about 20 years now. So
Wow.
I'll take on that I'm a southern girl now.
Okay. Well, you fit the description, looking like a Southern belle, maybe.
Oh,
You look really beautiful. So I love that. Um,
thank you.
thank you. Thank you. I'm a Jamaican. We tend to be. Well, what I know of older Jamaicans, we can be seen as having no tact, very ready. We can, be feisty, fiery. Yes, okay. We love spicy food. That's what we know typically of Jamaicans. But I guess I'm Jamaican. I'm not
Yeah.
really into spicy food like that. I love some good tasting food, of course,
Mhm.
but not necessarily hot. Not necessarily hot in terms of the spice. But I am a Jamaican for real.
Well, I love
I
it, and
was,
I love going to Jamaica. Just I'm going back there this year. Just went and I'll be back again. Yes, love it.
where do you know where you went the last time? Where did you visit?
Montego Bay.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yes, that's the tour, probably the tourist area is really nice. I've been to Montego Bay as well. But
Mhm.
when I go back, I'm usually in Kingston because that's where I have family and friends. But it's been a long time, so I need to pay Jamaica a visit for sure. For
Yeah.
sure. But so yes, you were into foster care, and I'm sure that was rough. So we look at you today and we see we don't know the entire journey, but to God be the glory, He's brought you this far. Um, do you want to say anything on that? You know what it was like being in foster care, but just how the Lord changed your life. What was your salvation story?
Sure. I would definitely have to say, like I grew up in a rough childhood.
Mhm.
My mother, she suffered from mental illness, so there was a lot of mental, emotional, physical abuse that I've experienced. And then going into foster care for a period of time. The key was, you go into foster care thinking that these people are your safe haven. They're here to rescue you. But to only find out that the foster mother, she was fighting battles of her own and the abuse had never ended.
Oh my
And so, my heart now to the children. I am also a school nurse, so I love my babies at my school. I love on these children because you never know what they're facing. You never
God.
know what they're going home to. But I was the child that I went to school to eat a lot of times. I went to school to find the love, whether it was a teacher that hugged me or someone that looked me in my face and said, you're beautiful or you're talented or you're gonna make it. But being in foster care, it was rough because I look back now and it's like, how could the system fail our children? And I felt failed even in those times of being in the foster care. But there were good people along the way. I had therapists that I work with, and they made sure, they really helped me to get out of those situations.
Wow.
But it was really rough. Yeah.
Ooh, I'm sure you could write a book on that. Wow.
Yeah, I
But
could.
to see you giving back into the schools with being a nurse, I think I didn't know you were a school nurse, But that's so beautiful to hear your story. It reminded me of a book I read, but I can't even remember the title of the book. But there was this boy who was so abused, and I think this was his natural family, but so
Mm,
abused. He would go to school to escape, you know? You know, school was his safe haven.
yes.
But it produ whatever God brought you through was to produce who you are today.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited about the fact that you are here today to tell your story, right?
Thank yeah.
So divorce is just one piece of one small piece of your story. Yeah, you have so much in you to give to the world. And I'm glad that those who are listening today have already gotten a piece of that power that God has put inside of you just to minister to others through your story. So, who inspires you today, and what are you venturing into?
I would definitely say my children and my grandchildren. I'm a glammy. I'm a glam mom. Uh,
Yeah, a very young one.
I would definitely say that they inspire me each and every day because I want to leave a life and a legacy to them, to understand, to know that even when you go through different adversities in your life and you go through different struggles, that you continue to keep the faith, you continue to keep moving forward, and you continue to keep trusting in God. You know, the reason why I am here today is because of the power of prayer and the power of my belief. Um, and as well affirming myself. So your listeners right now, if you go to my website, you can go to www.ernettacaldwell.com and print and get your free prayer affirmation cards, as a gift from me, because I am a true believer that we have to have prayer and we have to affirm who we are. There's so many people in this world that will tell you who you are not, but it's all about standing on the truth of what God says about who you are, and walk in that, walk in your purpose, walk in who He has destined for you to be. So, my kids, like I said, my kids and my grandkids, they really inspire me to be the woman that I am today. Because when I am long gone, I want them to continue to move forward and to make a difference in this world.
Wow, wow. Powerful, very powerful, inspiring. I can't even, you're talking about being a grandmother. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yes.
How many grandchildren do you
I
have?
have two, a boy and a girl.
Okay,
Yes.
wow.
And my husband, I have two bonus.
Okay.
So I have four total,
Our
but my
total. That's
son has two.
beautiful.
Yes. So
Sweet. Oh my goodness. So are you involved in your grandchildren's life as much as I'm sure you get to give them back? Like, it's not the same as when you're raising your kids, but
Yes, absolutely.
yeah.
I love being a glammy. It's the best thing in the world because you can spoil them and you can send them back. Oh my goodness. And then you can just pick them up when you want and just take them out and do what you want to do with them. It's the greatest. Oh, I mean, your
Yes,
kids too. It's a great experience being a mom, but yeah,
absolutely.
it's something about those glam babies. It's
Yeah, I
just
found myself thinking about that. Man, being a glad. I love that term that you've coined. I don't know. Maybe it's out there. I think I've seen it. Glammy. That is just so beautiful. But I love that you mentioned prayer because my desire is to really pray more in 2024. I've been highlighting that a lot and actually have increased my presence on social media to pray more and on YouTube. So I love that you mentioned that. That prayer is so key. I realize when I neglect to bring my kids together with me and pray for, if I neglect to come together on the time we said we are going to do it. I said,
Mhm.
okay, the enemy is raising his ugly head right now. We forgot to pray that together this week. We didn't come together this week. I better get on it because once I get off of it, you see another issue coming up. So it just the act of praying together is so powerful. It provides the confidence we need that God is actually there. He's protecting us and we have that
Yes.
relationship with him, you know?
Yes.
And he does it even when we don't pray, but for me, it just builds the confidence to know I'm abiding in him. I'm abiding
Yes.
in him when we pray. So that is really powerful, and I thank you for sharing that.
Yes.
Um, but I think, did you mention how you came to Christ? How did you? I don't know if I think I asked you that, but I can't remember what you said about coming to Christ. What was your first encounter with him?
As far as like
Like,
getting saved or
yes, yes,
uh,
getting saved.
well, we grew up, growing up, my mother, she did raise us in the church.
Okay.
So I was very young. I always it was just something about me that I always had a strong belief in God, even at a
Oh,
very, very young age.
wow.
But when I gave my life to Christ, I was 19 years old.
Okay.
Um, mhm. I was 19 when I gave my life to Christ.
Mhm.
And I just knew that without him, I wouldn't be here. There were so many different
Absolutely.
encounters in my life. Like, I can do a throwback. I was 15, about to give birth to my son,
Yeah,
and remember, you know, um, and it's a chapter in my book called Push Past the Pain.
yes.
And I
I think
remember I was like, oh God, I'm about to have this baby.
I
What am I
remember
going to
that.
do? I was
Yes,
so afraid and I was so scared.
yes.
And I remember I was this 15-year-old girl and I said, everybody stop. All the doctors, everybody was in there, my mom. And I said, everybody stop. We need to pray. And that was like the first time that I publicly came out and just started praying. And when I was done, I remember there wasn't a dry eye in the room. But to be so brave and at that age to say, I was like, Lord, I got myself into this, but Lord, I need to get myself out and I need you. And I knew at that very young age, I needed him. And I need him every day of my life. He gets the glory in my story. Without him, I am nothing.
He gets the glory in my story.
Yes.
That's it. He does. And it doesn't matter where we find ourselves, whatever our status is, married, single, divorced, separated, no matter the circumstances, he wants to get the glory out of our story. And you were quoting the scripture at the beginning that all things work together, right? For the
Yes.
good of those that love God and are called according to his purpose. So the
Yes.
evil things that are happening in your life and any of our lives, once we are called by God and we have chosen to live a life for Him, you better know that evil circumstance you're dealing with is going to be used.
Yes.
It's going to be used, okay? And it's making
Yes.
you, it's really developing you into who God wants you to be. But there comes an expiration date. Like there was an
Yes.
expiration date on my marriage of 19 years. I could not see myself with this person for the rest of my life. I was so miserable. But
Mm,
God reached down and He tenderly showed me or revealed to me that I didn't have to live a deplorable life.
mm.
I didn't
Am-
have to live unhealthily, right? We
Yes.
talk about mental health, having that history, right? Having seen that in your own family. It's already even hard enough to fight the warfare, the atmosphere that the enemy puts in our minds. It's so hard
Yes.
enough. And so if God tells you to let go of something, he has a reason why he tells you that. He doesn't want us to live deplorable lives.
Yes.
In fact, he came to
Amen.
give us the abundant life.
Amen.
He
Amen.
really did. He really did. So, Ernetta, I feel really empowered by you, and I'm sure others are feeling that as well. And not only do you have such powerful words, but I mean, you have this powerful presence about you. Yeah, and I know you're doing quite a lot of things. I was asking you what you're venturing into. So I know you're a would you call yourself a life coach? Is that what you call yourself?
I'm a transformation coach, but you can say
Transformation.
life because it's different
Yeah.
life's experiences. But yeah, I really want women to see the transformation. I want them to heal. I want them to reinvent their lives
Yeah.
and really rediscover who they really truly are and who God destined them to be, despite of a divorce, a heartbreak, trauma, any of life's adversities. You
Yeah.
have to keep moving forward to really step into become her.
Yes.
And so one of the ventures that I am doing now It's my program is called Reinvented by Her Academy, and it's for that woman
Ooh.
that's ready to say yes to herself, yes to pour into who she is, yes to really leave the old her behind and to become the new version of who God has really created her to be, to walk in her purpose, go after her dreams and goals. Because I know I was there, going through that divorce. I felt stuck. I felt like, God, this has to be the end of my life. What else is there? And God said, no, it's not the end. Just continue to turn the page. There's a new chapter to begin. So I don't know who needs to hear that today, but if you say, yes, I'm ready, you can come and get on my wait list right now. You can go to my website, www.ernettacaldwell.com. Is actually going to be opening up soon. It is a 12-week program. I'm excited about it. And all the women that have already been through my program and the transformations, to see their growth and to see where they started and to see where they have gone, it's amazing. But I'm going to push you in a good way, because I just believe sometimes we need that little push. We need that encouraging word. We need that, a lot of times we walk by that self-sabotage and those limiting beliefs, and we allow that to be our story, but that's not your story. Your story is who God says you are.
Ooh, yes. I love what you're doing. I think I'm so glad you plugged that in here because yes, people need to be empowered and to feel like, they're not stuck. They're not exactly stuck, even though they may feel that way.
Yes.
There's a space for them to grow. And sometimes they
Yes.
just need to learn something new. They need somebody to hold them by the hand. We need the coaches, right? I love
Yes.
that transformational coach.
Yeah.
I love to hear that. So you're doing a great work. You really
Thank you.
are. So I know I stopped you from telling your story. So I really want to hear the story about how you met your now husband. Uh, and how long you've been married, the whole thing. Yes.
Okay, so like I said, it's in the book. It's in the book. You gotta read the book. Also, as well, if you come now and sign up on my wait list to get into Reinvented by Her Academy, I'm also doing a bonus training. It's one of my trainings that I have. It's called Dating God Until Mr. Right Comes. That's one of my that's where I really teach you and give you the strategy of how I really met my now husband. But I'll give y'all a little snippet. I'll give y'all a little snippet. But it was just all about, like I said, number one was visioning and believing, cutting that picture out, acting in faith to say, God, send me a husband that will love me for loving you. I believe that I was worthy to be someone's wife.
Yes.
I was worthy to be the woman who he's destined me to be. And I knew what my heart desire was. And I believed that God would do it for me if I believed. And he did. He sent me the right person. But the connection was, it was all about me, number one, just being intentional with God, my relationship with him, dating him. I wasn't even focused on a man. I wasn't even thinking about a man. You would think that I've been with someone for so long, and it was, let me be honest, it was hard. It was rough at first because you're used to eating together. You had your visions, your goals together. People could teach you and tell you, oh, congratulations, you're tying the knot. Congratulations. But no one never teaches you how to untie the knot. No one ever teaches you how to live without this person. And here I was like, God, okay, it's just me and you. So that's one of the things. I'm going to just throw that out there. Have that relationship with God, date God. I was doing things I never done before. I went to the movies with just me and God. I would go out to eat with just me and God. And I'll give y'all a little secret sauce, okay? Even when you get married, if those that are going through a divorce or been divorced and you want to be remarried, you never stop dating God.
God.
You never
Yes.
date him. I still date him now, but the
Yeah.
key was really having that relationship and building that relationship with God.
Okay.
And once you honor him and put him first in all things, then things will happen.
Yes, absolutely. Oh my goodness. So I'm guessing you've been married for a few years now, maybe 3, 5 years.
We actually going on this year will make 8 years.
8 years. Okay. I shortened the
Mhm.
time. Wonderful. 8 years.
Yes.
Woo! God knows how to
Yes.
redeem the time too. Let me just say that.
Whew. When
Yeah.
I tell team, and like I said, you'll have to come because, like I said, it's a bonus. I'll be doing that teaching, dating God till Mr. Right come. But when I tell you how swiftly my now husband came, I was so shocked, like, Lord, I questioned God. I was like, who is this? I'm dating you. I mean, who
Wow.
is this man?
Yeah.
Um, and I said, God, just to give you another plug in it, but I said, God, reveal his heart to me because when you've gone through a relationship, a divorce, or a heartbreak,
Yeah.
you don't want to go through things again. You want to make sure that whoever it is that God will send your way, that person came from God, not because you like, oh, he look good and oh, I want to get with, I want this to be right. I
Absolutely.
want this to be right and in the will of who God has for me. So,
Yes, ma'am. And I know God does the best picking. Okay?
amen.
Okay. I know that. And it's not as if, you should never ever think of someone, and everybody's journey is different. I
Mhm.
know for me, God has already told me that there's someone for me. And more than once I've gotten the word, so I know it's not just coming from what I heard, but he's
Mhm.
actually confirmed it over and over. I'm like, okay, God, whatever, I'm in my waiting season.
Yeah.
But I find that in my waiting season, I'm just falling in love with Jesus. Like,
Mhm.
at one point, it was the part that made me miserable to even know that he has this promise and I'm pining over the promise. And I just need to be close to God.
Mhm.
And I'm so glad that I got over that piece because it was just a part of my journey. And I feel like the more that I grow in God, the more confident I am that,
Yes.
his promises are his promises. They are sure. They are yes and
Yes.
amen.
Yes.
And so I can be excited and happy with or without someone. I am content. And so this is why I say married to his will, because single or married, there is a promise on your life.
Yeah.
And, my desire is always to stay in his presence and in his will. So whoever is coming to find you, Mr. Right, like you said, they'll find you in the presence of God. Okay?
Yes.
He knows well how to pick them. I thank you for sharing so much with us. So, you've shared the tips, you shared a little bit about yourself, your life, and just having this restoration. What God did for you is so powerful. So, and you're doing a lot. You're doing quite a lot. I'm sure you wear many hats. Wow. Well, Ernetta, I would love for you to leave maybe and just another encouraging word for someone who might be listening before we wrap up.
Yes. To those out there right now, maybe you're at a place in your life where you want to give up, you want to throw the towel in. Maybe you're saying that you are not enough. I want to tell you that you are enough. I want to tell you that God has never left you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. So continue to keep moving forward, continue to keep going because I know what God has done for me. He has turned my pain into purpose, my sadness into strength, and my dark places into my destiny. And now I'm on the other side to reach back and pull up other women to let them know if God has done it for me, He will do it for you.
Ooh, yes, he will. Man,
Yeah.
you're pain into purpose, your darkness into destiny. I love all that. Woo! Man,
Thank
you have
you.
a powerful, you're powerful with the word, the spoken word. So I'm guessing you do take speaking engagements and things like that as well. And I don't know, do you do that?
I do. I have taken a speaking class. I'm also an actress.
Yes, I was going to mention that. Yes.
I do acting, but for me, I do speaking engagements. So if anyone ever wants to have me come to their church event, women's event, empowerment events, I also host the prayer vision box parties. It doesn't matter, I can do them virtually, I can do them in home, depending where you are. I travel. Oh, I love to travel. Y'all come follow me on my Instagram and on my Facebook because I love to travel. So I like to document a lot of my journey and the things that I'm doing. But yeah, so I did. take speaking classes as well. One thing that was easy for me, acting, it was great because you can put the mask on to be someone else that you're not. But actually speaking, it's like you have to speak your truth to authentically show up to who you are. And that was one of my acting coaches. Not acting. She helped me with my speaking, but she's an actress. Shout out to Kim Coles.
Wow.
Um,
What's the name? That's
yeah, from Living Single.
I see, I know her. Yeah, she's so funny.
She's
Yes.
she's one of my coaches that helped me with like my speaking. But I remember when I went to her and I had this speech and I was already and I was speaking in third person and she said, it's great, but I need you to speak in first person to who you really are. And that was a stretch for me. But now, you can't get me to stop because I am who I am. I have to show up as my true authentic self. And I want other women to do the same thing, to be unapologetically who God has destined for you to be. Sometimes we can mask and we can hide behind our stories, behind our journeys because we're embarrassed.
Yeah.
What will people think about us? What would they say about us? It's not about what they say about you. It's about what God says about you.
Yes.
You sharing your testimony to help someone else. And so
Absolutely.
once I understood that assignment, you can't stop me now.
She understood the assignment, y'all. Woo! Beauty for ashes. Beautiful. Listen, nobody can stop you, girl. You are amazing. What God is doing for you is amazing.
Oh,
Your
thank
story
you.
is great. I know there's another book coming somehow. I just know that. You have too much in you, so much in you to share. So you mentioned your social media page. I do have it listed actually. I didn't realize I had it from the book you gave me. So Caldwell.com. That's your website.
Website, yes, and you
Okay.
can follow me on all social media platforms at
Yes.
Ernetta Caldwell.
Yes, at Ernetta Caldwell. So I love it. Thank you for that. And I don't know, do you want me to share your email as well if they can contact you that way?
Sure, absolutely.
Info at ErnettaCaldwell.com. Got it right.
Yes, yes. And
Yes.
those, because I know it's a podcast, I'll spell out my name. It's ErnettaCaldwell.com.
Awesome. Wonderful. And again, I'll definitely have it all written out for you guys, but I know everybody does not read the description, so you heard it from her mouth. She spelled it out for you, so you know where to find her. And of course, we're on Spotify, we're on Amazon, we're on all these digital platforms. So wherever you listen to us, you heard it from her, from the horse's mouth, okay? From the beautiful woman's mouth, okay? So
Thank you.
I'm so excited about what God has done in your life and what He is doing, what He continues to do. Thank you for gracing the stage with me, for spending this
Yes.
time with me. And I am going to let you go. But of course, we're going to get to chat a little more. You guys don't get to hear it. But
Yes.
stay tuned.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Suzette. This was awesome.
It's my pleasure. I'm excited. So there you have it. Another episode, another interview complete, and with the beautiful Ernetta Caldwell. I had a good time with her. I had such a good time, I totally forgot to do a wrap up video. And I have to end my videos on a certain note. So I went ahead and did a rough one, and I said, I'm going to just, um, look at the nuggets I gained from this. I was happy to review the video and or interview, and I got so much from it. I love when she said, He gets the glory in my story. And she talked about the vision box that she created with her daughter. And I actually want you to go to her website and consider browsing it and maybe consider doing a vision box for yourself. It's still early in the year if you still haven't casted your vision, right? So consider doing that, and linking up with Ernetta. She's a transformation coach. So she's willing to go through with you, on the journey to help you get where you need to be. So remember to get her book, A Journey to a Healed Heart. It's a great resource for you, even if you've never been married, but maybe you've experienced a heartbreak, or maybe if it's not for you, you may want to gift it to someone else. somebody has a birthday this year, right? Gift it to somebody, and you won't regret it. And it was a very easy read. I just didn't take the time to finish the last few chapters, which I plan on doing. I'm now excited after that interview to get back to it. But yeah, I really dove into it the first day I got it, and I was going to finish that maybe in an hour, but went to bed and didn't pick it up too much later, so I had to reread it. But I'm excited about this book. So yes, go get it. I'm showing it to you again. Yes, A Journey to a Healed Heart. Pick up your copy at her website, www.ernettacaldwell.com. That's ERNETTACALDWELL.com. All right. And with that, I just want to also announce that I want to do several firsts, right, in this year. I'm hoping to have, like Ernetta, she was my first guest of the year. I'm hoping to have the first man on this podcast, right? And I'm thinking that's going to be my brother-in-law, Pastor Ron Thompson of Deeper Church. I am going to be so excited to have him on here to join me to talk about all things marriage and to talk about Deeper Church and just all the things, right? That's going to be really great to hear from him. So I'm excited to have him join me very soon on this platform. The first male guest. I've been wanting that. So I look forward to that in the probably the very near future. I definitely want to have him on here. So continue to pray for me, pray my strength. I'm in a very new season. It's a good one. I feel so different. Like God is doing amazing things in my life. And I'm excited for the journey ahead. And I hope you'll continue to journey with me on this podcast. I just want to continue to keep you in prayer, keep me in prayer. I'm praying more in 2024. I've been saying that, and I hope you're joining me in that effort. Well, with all we've said, remember, God gets the glory in your story. We hope that He gets the glory in your story. Don't give up. He is waiting for you to just talk to Him one more time, right? Keep that prayer line going, and allow Him to get the glory in your life. And no matter what you're going through, as I end every podcast with a statement, stay married to His will. God bless you.